Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.
Thank you for listening to this St. Louis on the Air podcast, supported by University College at Washington University, offering approachable world-class education with undergraduate and graduate programs, part-time, evening, and online. University College at Washington University.
The musical Mean Girls leads the pack with 12 nominations for this year's Tony Awards, along with SpongeBob SquarePants. The Tonys are Sunday night. And for more on one of the nominees with a local connection, here's producer Alex Heuer.
On Broadway, Mean Girls is adapted from a 2004 movie of the same name written by Tina Fey, who also wrote the book for the musical adaptation. And among the Tony nominations for Mean Girls is one for Taylor Louderman for Best Leading Actress in a Musical. She takes on the role of the so-called Queen Bee, Regina George. Taylor is no stranger to performing in this area. She played the title role of Annie when she was 10 years old at the Ozark Actors Theater in Rolla and went on to perform at stages St. Louis, the Muni, and the Fox Theater. Taylor joins me now from New York. Taylor, congratulations on your first Tony nomination.
Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. And I'm excited to talk with you. And in fact, the last time that our listeners heard from you was a little more than 5 years ago when you were here as a celebrity judge for the St. Louis Teen Talent Competition. And
oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And it seems like it was so long ago. And I'm just curious, reflecting on the last 5 years and what's happened with your career, what's that reflection like?
Oh my gosh, I've had some ups and downs. You go through spells of unemployment always as an actor, and especially when you're working your way up. But gosh, I feel like I've worked so hard. This definitely feels like a celebration of all of that work. Just doing Mean Girls, playing Regina George, the Tony nom. It's all like, okay, it paid off.
Mm-hmm.
My family mostly had to make a lot of sacrifices for my career, and I feel like we were all able to celebrate together.
What kinds of sacrifices?
Well, I grew up in Boubon, Missouri, where spirits are high, and there aren't a lot of opportunities in these rural areas in Missouri to perform or gain experience in musical theater. So my mom would drive me into St. Louis or Rolla. Rolla was about 30 minutes from home, but St. Louis was a good hour and 15 sometimes every day. And I have 4 younger sisters. So sometimes we would have to get everybody in the back of the Toyota Sienna and drive up to St. Louis. And I remember my little twin sisters, the sun would be in their eyes on the way home, and they would just be screaming. So that's sort of what I mean by sacrifices. But then, on the flip side, they've gotten to travel a lot to come see my shows or meet some really cool people. So definitely been ups and downs and finding a balance and all that. But it was really cool to look back and reflect on all of that the morning I got the Tony nom call. So
what was that call like?
Well, I guess it wasn't necessarily a call, but sort of like I was on my phone in the morning and nobody was messaging me. Nothing was happening. And out of nowhere, I guess people were watching the broadcast. And then I just got bombarded with so much love, texts, phone calls, whatnot. And I remember my mom calling and just being like, can you believe this? Because it's something I've been working at since the age of 10, really. And a lot of people, especially in the St. Louis area, have really made an impact or influenced me and my career. So it's cool. It's cool to think of all of that coming together.
And your family, do they still call Missouri home?
Oh, yes. They're in Boubon.
So Missouri is definitely home for you.
Oh, yes. In a big way. I try to get home as often as I can. I have cousins, aunts, and uncles, grandparents still in Missouri. My dad's side of the family is maybe in Illinois, but we moved to Boubon when I was in second grade. So I have very strong ties there, and I try to go home and give back. And, I think being from the small town that I'm from, sometimes the expectations are a little lower than I would like them to be, and that's something I want to do, give back in that way, and hopefully inspire young people to feel like they can do whatever they want to do. It takes a lot of hard work, and maybe a little harder work than if they lived in the city, but it's possible.
The Muni has been on my mind because they're approaching their 100th season, and I know that you've been on the Muni stage, and Mike Isaacson well. What was the Muni experience like for you?
Oh my gosh! I hear Muni and a smile comes to my face. I just love it there. It's magical, and I love that the St. Louis community just rallies around it. No other city really has something like that. It's such a family tradition, I feel like. And so I love going back there. I love supporting it in any way, shape, or form. Mike Isaacson is somebody that, I call him my Uncle Mike. He has just been there for me through and teaching me the ropes. And he was a big part of my Bring It On experience. And that was before he took over at the Muni. I sort of got to know him that way, and then he jumped over to the Muni, and it was just fun watching him transition and take on this thing I love. And I feel like he's done such a beautiful job there. I'm so excited for their 100th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I made some videos here at the theater because a couple other people in my show have worked there as well, and just wanted to be a part of it from afar.
Mm-hmm. I heard some sirens in the background. Are you in Manhattan now?
I am. Yeah, sorry. I was walking to the theater. We have rehearsal today for our Tonys, for the Tonys, and I didn't want to go inside yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, what?
I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. And we all know that police and ambulance sirens can happen anywhere, but I think it speaks to kind of maybe the pace of life in Manhattan and the busyness. What is it like to live and work in one of the busiest places in the world?
Yeah, I think I've adjusted to sort of a heightened anxiety at all times. And you do have to find balance. I try to, a lot of people will get out of the city and, go upstate or go to the Hamptons. And I like to come home to Missouri because that's where I feel most at home, most comfortable. I miss the trees and the grass and the wide open spaces and driving in a car, all of those things you really take for granted when you're there. And, of course, the people. But, yeah, it takes a toll on you living in such a fast-paced environment with so much concrete, for sure. But it does keep me on my toes, I will say. When I come home, I tend to just lay there on the couch, relax. And here I'm forced to go, which, it's good and bad.
Mm-hmm. I want to get to Mean Girls in a moment, but before you talked about how the last 5 years has really been a roller coaster, times of unemployment, and I think that really speaks to how difficult acting is and the business that you're in. And do you feel like you've made it now?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. I guess I do in some ways. There are always new challenges at every step, right? I guess I won't feel like I've made it until I have continuous work and I'm doing work that fulfills me. And I'm doing that right now, yes, but, who knows when this is all said and done where I will be. You kind of always have that, I think, at least as a Broadway actor. You never know what's coming, if something will come up after this. So you have to save your money and be smart. But I guess so. I guess it does feel like that, seeing your face on a marquee. There's a giant billboard in Times Square that my face is on it. It's so funny. I see that as Regina, not me. So it is a weird thing, You don't feel like it's you. It's your character. But yeah, things like that, I guess, definitely make me feel like, okay, we're doing it.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, you can't take it too seriously, or it can be an overwhelming amount of pressure. So I try to just stay on the artistic path and just enjoy the work that I'm doing, and wherever that takes me, as long as I'm creating something that feels like it has a purpose
Mm-hmm.
is all I can ask for.
You said that Billboard is Regina George, and of course that's the character in Mean Girls that you play. For people who aren't familiar with Mean Girls, what is briefly the plot line of that?
Oh, my goodness. It's so funny. In all of my interviews, no one asks me this question anymore because so many people have seen the film, but
Right.
it's important. It's high school, and there are different cliques, and there's a new girl in town. She just moved in from Africa, and so she has to find her way and find out where she belongs. She meets the Plastics, which are three very popular girls, and it's sort of an all-out girl war between them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I was thinking about Regina George, the movie version of her at least, and she is certainly the it girl. She's mean at times, but I also found myself sympathizing with her, and I wonder what it's like to take on a complex character in the way that you are doing it, because you certainly have to make it your own, too.
Yeah, definitely. And I anytime you take a film to the stage, you have to raise the stakes a little bit because you've got to reach the back of the house suddenly. Your audience isn't right there in your face with you. So just that forced me to make my own adjustments and bring myself into it. And having Tina and our director, Casey, around every day, they were really my eyes and teaching me what was working and what wasn't, because this character, she is, she has to draw you into her, and she doesn't have to work very hard. And her subtleties and the nuances, I feel like, are what make it really, really believable. And sort of what I find fascinating is, like, what these kids do in high school. It's like this, and I shouldn't say high school, it still happens. What girls will do is like this malicious teasing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm teasing you, I'm going to pick something that I know you're really sensitive to, or something that's really vulnerable that will hurt you, but to everyone else it will look like I'm just teasing you. And so how do you get that across on stage, so that it reads as such? So it's definitely something that we've carefully curated, but I've had a lot of help, doing that, so I can't take full credit for it.
I want to play a song from the musical, and can you set up the song Someone Gets Hurt?
Sure. So we are at a Halloween party, and Regina's ex-boyfriend is starting to like this new girl, Katie, or Caddy, and I find out that she likes him too. So I try to sabotage the relationship. That's sort of what you hear.
All right, this is Taylor Louderman singing in Someone Gets Hurt.
Yes, I look perfect. Ice queen, that's what you see. That's what they all expect from me. But it's all sham. Face it, you used me. You saw the sexy clothes, my supermodel pose. What did you know? Was I a game to you? Was I a way to be cool? I truly cared. Was I the fool? It's fine for you. It's fine to flirt. It's fine till someone gets hurt. Performance. This is a
That's the song Someone Gets Hurt from the musical Mean Girls that's on Broadway right now, and Taylor Louderman is my guest. She plays the character of Regina George in Mean Girls, and the Missouri native is with me on the phone from Manhattan. How would you describe the style of that music, Taylor?
Yeah, so it's so cool what Jeff Richmond did. Each character has their own sound, and I would say Regina's it's sort of a Bond villain type of sound, and I love digging into that. It's so not what I would have expected jumping into this role, because Regina George sort of has this angelic facade, but I think when you get inside her head, you do hear this powerhouse, which is something I really enjoyed playing with, and I do think the 2018 Queen Bee would sound more like, now that we're learning to empower women a little bit more in our society. So it's really cool. It's really fun to do, and I get to wear a terrible costume that my dad would not approve of.
Oh,
but not terrible. It's fun. It's fine. It's not that promiscuous, but but it's fun. It's something that I think Taylor and I in real life would not feel comfortable doing ever. So to step into those shoes for a second is challenging and fun for me.
How is the musical updated? Because it's been almost 15 years that the movie came out, and high school is very much a part of the times. It's very in the now. How is the musical updated?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that's happened since then is social media. So in the film, they don't even have cell phones, really. I think Regina has a flip phone. But what is so true to high school right now is that you see so much bullying, and I think bullying is a term that's so overused nowadays, but so much disrespect through social media. I think there's this sort of guard that you have behind technology that allows us to feel like we can say things in a really, really derogatory way. And so Tina was really smart to inject that into the show, but not too much, because it can get boring, right, if you're behind a cell phone doing a scene. But it's important to the story, and it's important to now. And I do think Tina knows. She didn't know this when she made the film, because they had no idea it was going to be such a hit. But with the musical, she had the idea that, okay, this is a platform and this is an opportunity, a moral opportunity, I think, to teach young women, anyone, how to say how you feel while upholding someone's dignity. And that's so important, and I love getting to spread that message every night.
Well, it's been a pleasure to talk with you, Taylor, and again, congratulations on your first Tony nomination.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you, too. Thanks for having me.
And I have to ask before you go, what are the one or two things that you look to do when you make it to St. Louis?
Trip home.
Yeah.
Tetris. I miss Tetris. You can't get that here in the city. Oh, man, it's so good. And, aside from visiting friends and family, I definitely love, hitting up the Muni and the Cardinals. I just feel like that's such a strong sense of community that St. Louis does better than any other city. So I miss it.
That's Broadway actor and Boubon, Missouri native Taylor Louderman talking with producer Alex Heuer. Louderman recently received her first Tony Award nomination for Best Leading Actress in a Musical. She plays the role of Regina George in Mean Girls, which is currently playing on Broadway. The Tony Awards are Sunday night.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.